Yo, what is up, y'all? It's Cone back here again tonight with another episode of After the Buzzer, the show, of course, where we recap the NBA games from the night. Game 7 of the conference finals was tonight, and finally, the conference finals are through. Blowouts gone, hopefully, fingers crossed, no more blowouts, but we got a lot of really close games towards the end, in particular in this series. It's been really fun. I've had a really good time watching these conference finals in the end, and now we've got our NBA finals set. Boston versus Golden State, Warriors versus Celtics, two teams that took very different paths to get where they've gotten, and I'm going to talk a little bit about the different paths that they took and a little bit about the finals matchup too in this video. But of course, we are going to start off by talking about the game that happened tonight, Game 7 in Miami. It was a fun one. Boston really started off hot early, leading by I think as much as 17 or 18 in that first quarter. Jason Tatum came out aggressive from the get-go, and while he wasn't making shots towards the beginning, really started to heat up later on. Jaylen Brown, of course, was doing his job, putting in some work as well. Jimmy Butler started to take over a lot in the second quarter, and by halftime, it was a 6-point deficit for the Heat. And then in the third quarter, Boston ramped it back up a little bit, but the Heat kind of kept it close. In the fourth quarter, the Celtics started to pull away again, and with about like 5 or 6 minutes left, I believe it was, the Celtics went up by around 12, and they kind of just took their foot off the gas. They started like kind of wasting some clock, kind of just being like lazy on possessions, just kind of going through the motions like, okay, we've just got to hold this lead for this long, rather than playing the type of basketball that got them there. They really got a lot less aggressive. They were taking worse shots. They were forcing things, and then the Heat really started to come back to the point where, with I think it was 20 seconds left, the Heat are down 2, and Jimmy Butler's got the ball. He's racing up the court. He was on fire in this game. He pulls up from 3, misses it. Celtics get the rebound. They play the foul game. Heat don't end up scoring anymore. The Celtics win 196. This one was crazy. I really thought for a second the Heat were going to come back. A lot of people are talking on the timeline about that Jimmy Butler 3 that he pulled up from 3. He had Al Horford on him on his heels, so personally for me, I would have liked to see him go to the basket. That's what I thought he was going to do, but at the same time, there's the argument that Jimmy Butler is your best player. He was shooting well on the night, and while three-point shooting isn't necessarily his game, he's been on fire as of recently from the three-point line, and he is your best player. What you ultimately want is the ball in the hands of your best player with the game on the line. If that's the shot that Jimmy wanted to go with, it's the shot he wanted to go with. You can argue whether or not that's the shot you necessarily would have wanted. For me, probably with all the momentum the Heat had, I probably would have, if I was Jimmy, I'm probably going for the 2, but at the same time, I'm not Jimmy Butler. I didn't score, 45, 47 points in a game 6. So, I'm not that same type of guy. But all in all, Jimmy Butler was taking over. He was on fire. So ultimately, that's the shot that he went with. And to me, I think that's fine. I think that in the moment there, if you hit that 3 and go up, nobody's going to complain about it. It's only because you missed. If he had made it, people wouldn't have had to complain about it. So to me, I think it's fine personally. Celtics end up taking this one. For the Heat, it was a great season for them. They dealt with a lot of injuries. Tyler Hero only played a few minutes in this one because of the injury that he had. I forget exactly what it was, to be honest. There's been a lot of injuries in these playoffs. It's kind of hard to keep them all together, keep them all on track. But Hero has been hurt for a little bit, and so just the fact that he was able to come in for a few minutes says a lot about him. PJ Tucker, Bam Adebayo, Jimmy Butler, all been dealing with some sort of injury. Kyle Lowry, of course, really not playing up to the level that we've seen Lowry play in the past in these high-stakes games. He did have a solid game all in all, but overall, just not the same type of player we typically see, probably due to some of that injury. The Heat really fought through a lot of injuries this season, came out last game, forced a Game 6 behind Jimmy Butler, their superstar player, and in this one, just barely fell short in what was an absolutely insane comeback effort. I really thought it felt like it was over. I think it was like 3 minutes left, and then all of a sudden they go on this 8-0 run, 10-0 run eventually to make it a 2-point game. Just all around a great performance from them fighting back in a spot that a lot of people didn't think they'd be in. A lot of people thought, oh, the Heat are fraudulent, like they don't really stand a chance in this series, that series, but they held their own all the way up until the end. So shout out to the Miami Heat. They're going to be back probably in this position in the next few years. They've just got to go out and add a couple more more pieces. To me, I feel like they really need another shot creator off the bench. They've got Tyler Hero, but I think they could use another one. Hell, maybe even in the starting lineup, they could use a guy like that. They need to get their guys to get healthy, and then with Eric Spoelstra, Jimmy Butler, Bam Adebayo, they're going to be back in contention for the Eastern Conference next season again. So the Heat will be back. This is not the end of the Miami Heat, but of course, the Celtics making their first NBA Finals in kind of a minute, I guess. For the Celtics, it's never too long before they make a finals, it feels like. But the first one for Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, of course, first-year coach Ime Udoka as a head coach in his first year going to the NBA Finals. Just a huge accomplishment for what continues to be one of the most impressive second halves of a season. Probably the most impressive second half I've ever seen, going from 20-21 in mid-January. I think they were even like 23-25 at one point, turning it all around to become the second seed in the Eastern Conference, making the NBA Finals on the back of Jason Tatum, Eastern Conference Finals MVP, Jaylen Brown, Robert Williams, who became a Defensive Player of the Year candidate later in the season, Marcus Smart, who ended up winning Defensive Player of the Year, role players like Grant Williams, who did a great job, Peyton Pritchard, deadline acquisition Derek White, Al Horford, who came in last offseason from the Oklahoma City Thunder, of course, shout Thunder legend Al Horford. Just a lot of great acquisitions. Brad Stevens having a great first offseason and season as a general manager, making that surprise shift from consider one of the better head coaches in the league to all of a sudden being a GM and absolutely killing it in his first full season to get them to where they needed to go. And of course, just Ime Udoka coming in as a first-year head coach and really getting that turnaround halfway through the year. It's kind of insane to me how bad they were. I vividly remember that RJ Barrett game winner when I was at the airport heading to Oklahoma City to go see those games in January. And at that point, I think the Celtics, I think that was when they fell to like 18-19 or something like that. And I remember tweeting out like, this has been the Celtics season. Like, I'm not surprised that they blew this lead and ended up losing on a game winner. Like, this is just kind of what the Celtics have been so far this year. And then right after that tweet, maybe that's the ultimate long form version of the Cone curse, but they ended up completely turning things around, becoming one of the best teams in the league, and now representing the Eastern Conference in the NBA Finals. It's been really impressive. Jason Tatum continues to do Jason Tatum type stuff, took over at the end with some really tough shots, great defense, improved playmaking. He's just a guy that continues to get better and better, and I still stand by the fact that I think he's going to win an MVP someday. He's got a chance to add a Finals MVP to his resume. Going through what was a really tough Eastern Conference run. They, of course, had to face the Brooklyn Nets with KD and Kyrie, go up against Giannis Antetokounmpo, and then go up against the one-seeded Miami Heat with Jimmy Butler, who was absolutely unstoppable for so much of this playoff run. He was so good that he got a vote for Eastern Conference Finals MVP despite losing, which really shows a lot about how great he was. It's a really big run for this Celtics team, for Jason Tatum building his legacy as one of the young superstars in the league. Just great stuff. Really, really impressed by the Boston Celtics. Everything that they've done. This turnaround's been absolutely incredible. I don't think you could say enough positive things about the way that they really shifted things halfway through the season. The culture locked into this defensive mindset and just kind of said, hey, we're going to make this thing happen regardless of who believes in us or not. All the noise about should they break up Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown? Should they trade this guy? Should they trade that guy? Should they blow it up or something like that halfway through the year? So many different conversations were being had about this team all throughout the season, even in going into the playoffs. I remember tweeting out before the playoffs saying like, it's amazing where the Celtics were, and now they've got a legit chance to win it all. And even going into the playoffs, so many people were like, they don't actually have a legit chance. I think there was someone who commented like, real basketball fans know that the Celtics have no chance because there's this team, that team, this team. Well, all in all, 28 teams are sitting at home, and the Celtics and Warriors are here at the end. And on the other side of the bracket with the Warriors, they're a team that started the season being doubted from the beginning, but got really hot early on, became an early favorite to win the championship, and then Curry really started to slow down after what was a crazy start to his campaign, looking like he was going to win the MVP. He slowed down, they had some injuries, and ultimately just falling off a little bit before kind of regaining some of that rhythm, getting Klay Thompson back halfway through the season around the All-Star break, and now Steph, Klay, Draymond coming into these playoffs from the get-go, really locking in that Western Conference, taking out the Denver Nuggets pretty handily, going up against the Memphis Grizzlies, taking them out in 6, and dealing with the really red-hot Dallas Mavericks in 5 games, going up against Luka Doncic, John Morant when he was playing, Nikola Jokic. They themselves have had to face a lot of really tough players over the course of this playoff run, but heading into the NBA Finals, they're 6 in 8 years. The last time the Warriors made the playoffs and didn't make the finals was what, like 2013-14? Continue to have this dynasty that goes way beyond what a lot of people probably would have dreamed of in their early days, and especially after the Kevin Durant stuff, after he left, continuing to be this Western Conference force after dealing with those 2 weird years with injuries, and just a lack of depth, regaining their confidence, regaining the team that they once were. Now with all of this experience, going up against a very inexperienced team in Boston, it's going to be really interesting because you've really got kind of a changing of the guard happening here in the finals. You've got Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Robert Williams, these young guys, a first-year head coach in Ime Udoka going up against Steve Kerr, who himself was once a first-year coach heading into the finals. You've got Steph, Klay, Draymond, these guys that have been here, done this so many times. And what I think is really going to be, I think it's going to be really fun. I think this is going to be an incredible NBA Finals matchup. I'm really excited to see what these two teams bring. I'm not going to give an official prediction right now. I'm going to make a video breaking down the finals themselves in a couple of days. So if you want to see that, please let me know in the comment section below. And please also comment below who you've got winning the NBA Finals. Game 1's not till Thursday, unfortunately, so we've got a lot of time to wait, but I'm excited about it. Maybe I'll do a live stream and we can just talk finals at some point if you want to see that. Also, let me know in the comment section below. But for right now, I think that's all I've got to say about this game and these two teams heading into the finals. Like I said, breakdown coming in a couple of days, as well as the usual content, so make sure to leave a like and subscribe. But for right now, I appreciate y'all watching. I'll see y'all later. Real one, say it back.